I want you to picture, just for a second, the driest, most absolutely unforgiving landscapes on Earth.
Right, like just total desolation.
Exactly. I'm talking about the Sahara, the Arabian desert, just these endless, endless oceans of sand baked under a relentless sun, where even the idea of finding a single drop of water feels like, I don't know, an absolute miracle.
Yeah, and it's an environment that really feels permanent. Like if you've ever been out there or you see footage, when you stand in the middle of the Rub al-Khali, the empty quarter,
Yeah.
the sheer scale of the aridity just completely tricks your brain.
Right.
Start thinking, well, it has always been this way and it just always will be.
But now I want you to take that exact same mental image, that barren desert, and I want you to just flood it.
Oh yeah.
Picture those exact same spots, but teeming with giant, deep lakes. Rushing rivers stretching for hundreds of miles. Dense grasslands.
Hippos.
Yes, hippos lounging in the water. Early human settlements just thriving right where those massive towering sand dunes are today.
I mean, it sounds completely contradictory to everything we know about those regions today. But the wild part is, it is one of the most rigorously documented realities of our planet's geological past.
It really is. And to understand how a massive desert simply, forgets its own green past, we have to look at a profoundly diverse stack of sources for our deep dive today.
We really do. We're pulling from, well, cutting-edge hydrogeological studies, satellite radar imaging, sediment cores.
The hardcore science stuff.
Right. But we are also looking at 7th century Islamic scriptures and ancient prophetic traditions.
Which is such a fascinating crossover, because our mission today is to explore the space where modern climate science and ancient spiritual teachings essentially converge on the exact same profound truth.
Yeah, the dynamic, cyclical, and deeply fragile nature of Earth's deserts.
So let's start with the physical evidence, what scientists call the African humid period, or Green Arabia, because this is written so clearly in the geological record.
It is, and the craziest part wasn't even that long ago. The timeline points to a peak period around 10,000 years ago.
Which is nothing.
Geologically speaking, that is an absolute blink of an eye. And across the Sahara, archaeologists have found literally thousands of examples of ancient rock art from this era.
Yeah, and these aren't just abstract, stick figures.
Not at all. They are highly detailed, anatomically precise paintings of giraffes, crocodiles, elephants, cattle.
Animals that would perish almost instantly in the modern Sahara. I mean, there's even that famous cave of swimmers in Egypt depicting people actively diving into water.
Right, diving in what is now just a sea of dry sand.
But beyond the art, the technology we have today lets us look even deeper. The satellite radar imaging from our sources is just mind-blowing.
Oh, the L-band radar.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like doctors taking an X-ray of the Earth. The surface sand basically acts like skin, but the radar waves, they penetrate that dry sand and bounce off the denser bedrock.
Revealing the bones of the planet, essentially.
So.
And when scientists map those radar reflections, they find the ghosts of these massive ancient river systems. Like, one of the most significant discoveries is the ancient Irhar River in the Western Sahara.
Right.
We are talking about a colossal waterway that acted as a green corridor. Between, say, 130,000 and 100,000 years ago, it allowed early humans and megafauna to migrate safely across a continent that is currently just completely impassable.
And you can actually see the remnants from space, right? Like the modern sand dunes show up in optical images as bright orange, but right alongside them are these stark white and gray patches.
Yeah, those are the mineral-rich, dried-up beds of the ancient megalakes.
That visual contrast is just incredible. And moving east over to the Arabian Peninsula, specifically in the Nefud and the Rub al-Khali deserts, the fossils they are pulling out of the sand there are staggering.
Oh, the hippos.
Yes. Researchers have dug up actual fossils of hippopotamuses in Saudi Arabia.
And I cannot stress this enough, a hippo fossil in the Arabian desert is the ultimate smoking gun for climate scientists.
Why hippos specifically? Like, why are they the smoking gun?
Because hippopotamuses are a keystone species for understanding past environments, purely because of their strict biological needs. I mean, a hippo consumes around 40 kilograms of grass every single night.
Wow.
And during the day, they actually lack sweat glands, so they must remain submerged in deep water just to prevent their skin from cracking under the sun.
So they can't just hang out by a temporary puddle after a rainstorm.
Exactly. They cannot survive on seasonal rainfall or shallow ponds. Finding a hippo fossil in the Rub al-Khali proves, beyond any doubt, that a permanent deep-water ecosystem surrounded by lush vegetation existed there year-round.
Okay, so shrinking lakes are one thing, river levels fluctuating, sure.
Yeah.
But how does an entire continent-spanning river system, an ecosystem capable of supporting pods of hippos, just vanish under the sand?
Right.
I mean, a change that massive almost feels like magic.
It feels like it, but it is entirely mechanical. It's driven by the vast machinery of Earth's orbit.
Okay, unpack that for us.
So the disappearance of these green zones was dictated by something called Milankovitch cycles.
Milankovitch cycles.
Yeah. Over tens of thousands of years, the Earth experiences these slight, predictable variations in its orbit around the Sun and the tilt of its axis.
Just tiny little wobbles in how we spin.
Exactly. And during the Holocene humid period, these axial shifts fundamentally altered how solar radiation hit the planet. The northern hemisphere started receiving slightly more summer sunlight,
Okay.
and that extra solar energy heated the land masses, creating low atmospheric pressure, which essentially dragged the massive African and Indian monsoon systems hundreds of miles further north than they are today.
So the rain belt literally just migrated across the continent.
It migrated, and the landscape responded to this really powerful ecological feedback loop.
Because of the plants.
Right, and when the monsoons arrived, vegetation exploded. And plants are incredibly effective at modifying their own local climate.
Oh, for sure. Their roots hold the soil in place.
Their leaves provide shade to prevent evaporation. But more importantly, dark green vegetation absorbs heat and releases water vapor back into the air through transpiration.
So they sweat the water back out.
Yeah. This moisture rises, it cools, and it creates even more rain. The plants effectively build their own weather system.
It's like a self-sustaining engine.
Precisely.
But wait, if it builds itself up so effectively, how does it collapse so completely?
Well, the feedback loop runs in reverse just as aggressively.
Oh, no.
Yeah. As the orbital cycle slowly shifted back and the solar radiation decreased, the monsoons began to retreat south. The rains lessened, and the plants started to die off.
Which exposes the ground.
Exactly. Without plant cover, the bare, light-colored soil of the desert was exposed. And this is what we call the albedo effect.
Albedo effect, okay.
Light sand reflects sunlight back into the atmosphere rather than absorbing it like the dark green plants did. And that reflection actually cools the air directly above the ground, creating high atmospheric pressure.
And high pressure acts like a shield, right?
Yeah, exactly. It acts like a physical barrier, pushing moist air systems away. So once that tipping point is reached, the vegetation dies rapidly, the albedo effect increases, and the desert basically takes over in this runaway chain reaction.
So we aren't talking about a millions of years process here.
Not at all. And this brings us to their core samples taken from the Taima Paleo Lake in northern Arabia.
Ah, yes, the sediment cores.
Right. Scientists drilled down into this dried lake bed and extracted these columns of dirt to study layers called varves.
Varves.
Yeah, V-A-R-V-E-S. They are these highly detailed laminated layers of sediment that form annually at the bottom of a lake. In the wet season, coarse runoff settles. In the dry season, fine particles settle.
Oh, I see. So it creates a striped pattern.
Exactly like scanning a barcode or, counting the rings of a tree. It lets scientists read the climate year by year. And the Taima study completely disrupted previous timelines.
How so?
It proved that the peak period of absolute humidity, the true Green Arabia phase in that region, was unexpectedly short. It only lasted about 650 years.
Wait, really? Only 650 years?
Roughly from 8,550 to 7,900 years ago.
A 650-year oasis. That's a blink of an eye.
Yeah.
And the timing of this is just mind-bending because from the sources, this lush green period in northern Arabia happened at the exact same time the rest of the world was experiencing a devastating global dry anomaly.
The 8.2 cat event.
Yes.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Climate scientists call it the 8.2 cat event, and it was a massive, sudden global disruption.
Walk us through what happened there.
Well, at the time, huge remnants of the Laurentide ice sheet in North America were melting.
Okay.
And they held back this enormous, unfathomable glacial lake called Lake Agassiz. Eventually, the ice dam finally broke.
Just a total collapse.
Total collapse. It dumped trillions of gallons of freezing fresh water straight into the North Atlantic.
Oh, wow.
And this sudden influx of cold, fresh water literally shut down the ocean currents that circulate global heat. The northern hemisphere cooled dramatically, which led to widespread drought.
But wait, if there's widespread drought everywhere else, what about Arabia?
The paradox is what scientists call cool poles, dry tropics.
Cool poles, dry tropics. So an ice dam breaking in Canada somehow causes hippos to thrive in Saudi Arabia. Like, how does that physical chain reaction even work?
Okay, think of a mass of cold, dense air, like a massive physical boulder sitting right in the middle of a rushing river.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
When the North Atlantic cooled, it dropped a high-pressure boulder into the atmosphere. Normally, the weather systems would distribute rain evenly across the Mediterranean and the Levant.
But the boulder is in the way.
Right. This high-pressure block forced continuous mid to upper atmospheric bands of moisture, which we call tropical plumes, to totally detour.
Wow.
The moisture hit the block and was redirected straight into northern Arabia. It essentially funneled a continuous anomalous supply of rain onto that one specific region, creating a temporary vibrant paradise, while all the neighboring areas just suffered severe drought.
The interconnectedness of a planetary climate system is just staggering.
It really is.
But, if the climate was shifting this dramatically, like lakes appearing, deserts turning to grasslands in a matter of centuries, how did the ancient people living through it actually process what was happening?
Well, physically, we know they adapted. The archaeological record shows communities in the Fayoum Depression in Egypt constantly shifting their settlement.
Moving with the water.
Exactly. As the enormous Lake Moeris advanced and retreated, these ancient fishing communities moved their hearths, their homes, their entire economies just to chase the shoreline.
Right, but to understand how human beings process this conceptually, and spiritually, we really have to turn to the historical and religious texts of the region.
We do, because the spiritual tradition of the area eventually codified these environmental changes, not just as random weather events, but as profound recurring lessons about the nature of existence.
And let's look closely at the Islamic tradition from our sources here, because the way the natural world is framed in the Quran is basically as this vast, living, theological textbook.
The linguistic framing is so vital here. In Arabic, the word used for a verse of the Quran is ya.
Right.
But ayah does not mean a sentence in a book. The literal translation is evidence, sign, or miracle.
So when the text points to rain bringing dead earth back to life, it isn't just employing poetic imagery.
No, not at all.
It is presenting a literal ayah, a sign for the observer to study. I mean, Quran 21.30 states, "And we made from water every living thing."
And the theology constantly demands that the observer draw a parallel between the resurrection of the barren earth after a rainfall and the ultimate resurrection of humanity.
It's an argument against permanence.
Absolutely. It forces a person standing in a seemingly eternal dry desert to acknowledge that what looks utterly dead can be entirely transformed by a single shift in conditions. If the earth can wake up, the logic follows. So can you.
Which brings us to what I think is just an astonishing piece of historical text.
Hadith.
Yes. There is a hadith, a recorded saying of the Prophet Muhammad found in the collection of Sahih Muslim, speaking directly about the end of times. The Prophet Muhammad stated, "The last hour will not come till the land of Arabia becomes meadows and rivers."
And the semantic weight of that statement really hinges on one specific word. Depending on the English translation of the Arabic, the text says Arabia will return or revert to being meadows and rivers.
That concept of returning is what just stops you in your tracks. I mean, you have a man in the 7th century living in one of the harshest, most water-starved deserts on the planet, speaking to people who have only ever known sand, rock, and heat.
Right, they possessed zero scientific capability to measure sediment cores, map ancient varves, or comprehend Milankovitch orbital cycles.
None of it. Yet the text accurately declares that a green Arabia is a past state of reality that will occur again. It predicts a geological future that modern science has only recently proven was also the geological past.
It is a remarkable convergence of ancient spiritual insight and modern empirical data. I mean, modern climate experts have even modeled how this 7th century prophecy could scientifically play out today.
Oh yeah, Dr. Abdullah Al-Misnad.
Yes. Dr. Al-Misnad, a former professor of climate science at Qasim University, outlines 4 highly plausible scientific scenarios that could actually trigger this return to green.
What are the mechanisms he points to? Because clearly it takes a massive disruption to flip an entire desert.
His first scenario is human-induced global warming. As global temperatures rise, the thermal dynamics of the atmosphere shift.
Which we're already seeing.
Exactly. This could permanently alter atmospheric pressure systems, pulling dense moisture from the Arabian Sea deep into the desert interior, replacing arid winds with heavy, consistent rainfall.
That perfectly aligns with the models we are seeing today, where extreme weather events are shifting historical rain patterns. What are his other scenarios?
The second scenario involves volcanism. The Arabian Peninsula is actually home to over 2,000 volcanoes.
Wait, 2,000 volcanoes? I had no idea.
Yeah, the vast majority of which are dormant. but a massive widespread eruption could trigger a localized nuclear winter effect.
Ah, blocking out the sun.
Right, the immense ash clouds would block incoming solar radiation, cooling the region significantly. This would drastically reduce evaporation while simultaneously trapping existing atmospheric moisture, eventually turning the cooled landscape fertile.
So a volcano blocking the sun to create an oasis, it totally mirrors the 8.2K event we just talked about, where cooling caused greening.
Exactly the same principle. His third scenario is a large-scale meteorite collision, doing the exact same thing, kicking up a massive dust shield that creates a sudden cooling effect and traps moisture.
And the fourth.
The fourth scenario is simply an astronomical shift in Earth's axis. A new phase of the Milankovitch cycles, redistributing solar energy and moving the monsoon belts again.
It's wild to think about, but the theological point remains intact regardless of the physical mechanism, right? The environment is not static, it is cyclical, and it is a sign. But the hadith we just discussed actually contains a second half. It doesn't solely talk about rivers returning to the desert. It pairs the environmental shift with something that seems entirely disconnected.
The economy.
Yes, the economy.
The full quotation from Sahih Muslim creates this really striking juxtaposition. It reads, "The last hour will not come before wealth becomes abundant and overflowing, so much so that a man takes zakat out of his property and cannot find anyone to accept it."
The hadith explicitly ties the overflowing of rivers to the overflowing of capital.
It does.
If a community's required annual charity, their zakat is supposed to purify their wealth by circulating it to the poor. What happens when there is so much wealth, or it is so deeply hoarded, that the system just breaks down?
The connection really lies in the literal meaning of the word zakat, which is purification. The spiritual texts treat the physical flow of water and the societal flow of wealth as parallel systems subject to the exact same natural laws.
Just as water must flow to bring life to a dry riverbed.
Wealth must flow through the economic strata of society to keep the community alive and pure.
Think about a pool of water with no outlet, you know? If water just sits there completely stagnant, it breeds mosquitoes, it breeds disease, it becomes toxic to anyone who drinks it.
Exactly.
Hoarded wealth, according to these texts, operates on the exact same frequency. If capital does not flow, it poisons the individual holding it and rots the society around them.
And the Islamic texts use deeply visceral symbolic imagery to illustrate the toxicity of hoarding. The punishments described in the Hadith literature for those who refuse to let their wealth flow are honestly designed to shock the listener.
The imagery is genuinely terrifying. I mean, one source describes hoarders of gold and silver who refuse to pay their charitable due. It says their hoarded wealth will be heated in the fires of hell, beaten into burning plates, and used to repeatedly cauterize their sides, their foreheads, and their backs.
Yeah, the punishments are highly specific to the nature of the hoarded asset. Like, if someone hoards livestock, massive herds of camels, cattle, or sheep, and refuses to distribute the charity on them, the texts state that on the day of resurrection, that person will be thrown onto a flat plain.
Oh, man.
And those very animals will return, endlessly trampling the hoarder with their hooves and goring them with their horns.
There is another description regarding a person who hoards buried treasure or cash. Their hoarded wealth physically transforms into a giant, bald snake.
Bald because its head is so overflowing with venom.
Right, and the snake relentlessly chases the hoarder, and when the person realizes they are cornered, they are forced to thrust their hand into the snake's mouth, and the snake gnaws on it, quote, like a male camel.
Like a male camel.
Which is so oddly specific and just. It is psychological nightmare fuel.
It is brutal imagery, but it serves a vital psychological function. These descriptions are actively designed to forcibly break the human illusion of ownership.
Yes.
Which brings us to the foundational Islamic concept of khilafah, or stewardship.
The fundamental difference between being an owner and being a caretaker.
Exactly. The core philosophy is that human beings do not possess ultimate ownership over the earth, nor over the wealth they temporarily accumulate. They are entrusted with it. It is an amana, a divine trust.
You are merely a steward of the river, just as you are a steward of your bank account.
Right. If you dam up the river to keep all the water for yourself, you kill the valley downstream. If you dam up your wealth, you kill the societal ecosystem, and ultimately you destroy your own soul.
So if you were listening to this and looking at your own life, the text is essentially asking you to view the natural environment around you as a direct mirror of your societal and spiritual health.
When we synthesize the satellite data showing ancient, dried-up lake beds with these ancient texts condemning hoarded gold, The overarching lesson is identical. Nothing is permanent, everything is cyclical, and everything is designed to flow.
Yeah.
When humanity disrupts that flow, whether through massive environmental degradation or extreme economic hoarding, we trigger catastrophic feedback loops.
Yet, remarkably, despite all the heavy imagery, the sources do not end on a note of despair. They leave the observer with a profound directive of hope and agency.
The prophetic lesson about the seedling.
Yes. Even facing the literal end of the world, there is an instruction. If the final hour comes, while one of you has a seedling in his hand, let him plant it.
It is the ultimate rejection of nihilism. Even if the sky is falling, even if the world is actively ending, your duty as a steward does not cease. You do not control the outcome of the climate or the end of time. You control your participation in the flow of life.
You plant the tree.
You plant the tree. You do the work.
It is a stunning mandate. To trace the journey we've taken today, we began by looking at the most parched, unforgiving deserts on the planet. We looked through satellite radar to find the ghost rivers and hippo fossils buried beneath the Arabian dunes.
We broke down the immense planetary mechanics, the orbital wobbles, the albedo feedback loops, the collapsing ice sheets that can turn a desert into an oasis and back again in the span of a few centuries.
And we followed that scientific reality straight into the realm of 7th century spiritual texts. We found prophecies of a green Arabia returning that perfectly mirror the geological past, and we explored the profound ancient wisdom that views the flow of life-giving water and the flow of wealth as two sides of the same divine trust.
A trust that must never be hoarded lest the entire system collapse.
It fundamentally changes how you look at a dry riverbed, and it certainly changes how you look at your own bank account.
Definitely.
But before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final, awe-inspiring fact from our sources to just turn over in your mind. We have spent this entire time talking about the power of water to transform the earth. But where did that water actually come from?
Oh, that is a question that requires us to look far, far beyond the atmosphere of our planet.
Modern astrophysics suggests that a vast amount of the water currently flowing on Earth did not originate here.
Nope.
It arrived during the violent, chaotic early days of the solar system, carried across the freezing vacuum of space by icy comets and meteorites bombarding the young, molten Earth.
In fact, scientists analyzing ancient meteorites have recently discovered water molecules trapped inside them that are actually older than our planet itself.
So the next time you drink a glass of water, or you just watch the rain fall on a patch of dry dirt, consider this. The very drop of water bringing life to that soil might be older than the sun itself. It is a cosmic traveler, a profound sign hidden in plain sight, carrying the absolute secret of life, just waiting for its turn to flow.